Hi, I'm Ryan Hunter, and this is Kalispell Connections, a program where we talk about issues important to the community. And with me today is Andrea Bachman and Ben Johnson with the Center for Restorative Youth Justice. Hi, both of you.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, thanks both for being on the program. I guess I want to start out, maybe a lot of folks don't know about the organization. So could you start with talking about the origins of the organization and the work that you do?
Sure.
Either one, jump in. Yeah, I'll let you guys kind of take the lead, whoever wants to take it first.
Yeah, I can start us off there. So Cryj kind of started out as Flathead County Pure Court, and has kind of evolved over the years. I believe over 20 years into what it is today, which is a little different than its origins, where kind of the youth that were participating in it kind of I guess I equate it to a little bit of a Ponzi scheme, where you come in with an offense and you work your way up and begin be the judge. The jury appears and the judge in kind of a court situation, kind of working with your peers over offenses. We've kind of evolved significantly, and currently work in partnership with the schools and the youth court here to offer workshops and restorative justice programming for teens who are involved with the criminal justice system here in the Flathead Valley.
Can you speak a little bit to some of those different programs you have running? I've seen on your website you have a number of different great programs. What are some examples of those?
Yeah, I can dive in here if you want, Ben. So all the youth that we work with come from different places, but they all participate in the same program in different ways. So we offer, instead of traditional community service, workshops that before COVID would be in person and now are online. But those include both conversations about what happened, why are you here, utilizing a restorative justice model, which we can talk about more. And then also talking about, what are your goals? Who do you want to be? And how can we support you getting there? And so those look like workshops that we call things like real talk, drug and alcohol, like how do we reduce harm, even when substances are used, even when risks are taken, because we all take risks. Workshops like mind-body skills, how can we utilize our breath and our movement and creativity to manage stress and find more ease. And workshops like Youth Voice, where we're talking about current events and topics that are relevant to young people and giving them a space to reflect and share their perspective. We also have a study hall time that we offer during the week, and we haven't done it in a while, but we used to offer cooking workshops, which were really fun to do here at Cryj. And in the summertime, we utilize a garden space by the middle school. So teens have the opportunity to learn how to grow and plant, harvest and prepare food. And so there's lots of different ways that they can be involved with each other. And it's not just about reflecting on the incident that brought them to Cryj, but also creating a platform for introspection and goals moving ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do you find that there are common themes as to the background and situation that teens are coming out of that lead them to the situations that are bringing them to your organization, the trouble that they're getting into? Is there kind of common backgrounds or themes that you're often dealing with?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, there's I think there's, unique circumstances to every youth being here, but, a lot of it stems from, reported by the youth that there just like isn't much for them to do in the Flathead Valley, especially for youth that don't have, certain means of income to participate in sports or clubs or other activities that that their families just aren't able to afford. So that's something we see a lot. Yeah, we see some siblings, stuff like that.
I think we also, maybe it's true for all humans, right? The thing that's on the surface, or what we got caught doing, or what got our attention or created the issue, it's like the iceberg effect, right? There's always so much more beneath that. And just recognizing, and that's a key part of restorative practices and restorative justice, is really seeing each other and ourselves as a whole person, and then we're not just this thing that happened, this mistake we made, or this choice we made. And so I think that often maybe what's most surprising or least surprising, I guess, depending on how you look at it, is that what may have brought someone here really isn't the biggest issue that they're facing in their life or that they need the most support around. So the gift that we have in the way that we offer our workshops and our programming is that we can meet teens on different levels and not just around that one issue.
Mm-hmm. So I think criminal justice system in our country is very focused on the punitive aspects. And this is certainly a different model, kind of this idea of redemption and second chances and restorative justice, as the name implies. How is that approach different, and why is that approach needed relative to kind of the traditional way we look at criminal justice?
Yeah, kind of, one of the ways I frame our program to the youth that we work with often is, this is an alternative to community service in a way, and the question is, you did this thing, there are consequences to that thing, and that could be picking up trash on the side of the road or something like that. And the question for a teenager is, what does picking up trash on the side of the road do for you? Like, not that I don't think, trash needs to get picked up off the side of the road, but like, what does it do for you? And they, sit there and think a little bit, and they're like, well, I guess I'm just like, more angry and more pissed off. And, so the idea around restorative justice, restorative practices, is that we're repairing harm. We're identifying harm that was caused and repairing that harm. And kind of like there's that disconnect between picking up trash off the side of the road or whatever community service or whatever fine that they might get in a court and actually repairing that harm, because like that stuff, that's punitive, and that doesn't address what happened, and it doesn't move things forward and making things right. Yeah, someone might not go and do that again, but if we're working to improve communication between youth and their parents, and hopefully supporting them in finding the tools to be able to repair that harm, whether that's within their family or within their school or peer group or elsewhere in the community.
And I would just add or enhance that by saying that we're really looking, when we talk about restoring harm or repairing harm, we're looking at like, what's the impact that this incident had, and not just on what we might call a victim, but on that young person, on their family, and where can the young person we're working with take responsibility. And so in the past, for certain incidences, we would have what were called victim offender conferences, really looking at, and now calling them impact responsibility conferences, instead of creating this distance between all of us, that one person's the cause and one person's who's affected, that oftentimes it's so much more than that, right? There's harm on both sides. And restorative justice offers the opportunity for all voices to be heard, is done in a circle format, and creates a space for there to be reconciliation, at the very least to be understanding and respect. Not that people have to be best friends or on the same page necessarily, but that there is accountability really moving forward for that. So I think that that's a key piece. And something that is different about our program maybe than other restorative justice models that take place in schools, for example, across the country, is that we don't know the young people before they come through our doors most of the time, unless they are a sibling or they were here before for a previous incident. Our first contact with them is when we have a family conference. And so we don't have the opportunity to build relationships until that moment. Whereas I think my understanding of real, genuine restorative practice is the ideal situation is that you have been able to build a relationship before harm is caused, so that when harm is caused, that the incident or the conversation that needs to happen to address that harm can sit on that relationship that's already been built. So it's different than it may look like at a school or within a family, but it is still very much based on relationships, the way that we interact with kids, getting to know them, and hopefully doing our best to create an environment that feels safe and approachable.
Do you have research or metrics, evidence that this approach is more effective in terms of preventing repeat behavior and these kids returning to the criminal justice system?
Like anecdotally, like our recidivism rate of kids going through specifically our program, and I'm not super well versed on like the research across the board, but that we see a lower recidivism rate than kids who are not in a restorative justice programming.
And I'm curious to, obviously the pandemic is affecting everything. And I know kids in particular are really struggling with all the, especially the stay-at-home order in the spring, but just really, and school being turned upside down, online learning, all that. How has the pandemic affected your work, and what have you seen with the teens that you work with?
I think it's had a really significant impact on our work. And in the springtime and prior to this year, our phone's ringing, we had, a lot higher numbers. Our average has been in the past 35 to 40 youth at a time. And since the pandemic, we're down into the teens, we're getting fewer referrals. And so that's one impact, is just seeing that kids are home more, maybe they're out less, but we know that doesn't mean that they're hurting less or they need fewer resources suddenly. We've had, unfortunately, one of our young people, we lost to suicide this spring. And of course, we can't point only to the pandemic for that, but we had, struggled with seeing our youth really having a hard time with what's going on and not necessarily having the resources that they need to feel successful or feel valuable or be able to work or be able to do sports or be able to see their friends, or not necessarily have a home where they feel the most welcome, and which isn't the case for everyone or necessarily when someone's really struggling, but we've seen that across the board, and young people having a harder time getting to workshops even when they're online. Just there being more hurdles to showing up, even though we're having fewer youth. So we have moved our programming online. Ben, maybe you can talk a little bit about what it was like when we did a hybrid model last month, but we're moving back to online now, and still seeing fewer youth than we normally would. And so that's been a part of our thought and conversation, is how do we reach the kids that may need some more resources and support that may not be coming through our normal channels of youth support, and the schools may not be getting into trouble, but may still need some support.
Yeah. Well, I think the work that you guys do is just so important, and I love that you're in the community and doing that work, and I wish you both the best of luck moving forward, and hopefully with organizations such as your organization, it'll help teens kind of manage through this very strange time that we're all experiencing with the pandemic, and we'll have, I think, just a better community because of organizations like yours doing the work you do. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining me.